Captain Eric Russell stared at the strange readings on the main screen of the Earth defense vessel Defiance *. The ship was on a routine patrol near Neptune when the sensors detected something unusual. An energy signature unlike anything in their database pulsed at the edge of their scanning range. "What do you make of it, Sam?" Russell asked his science officer. Sam Jones adjusted his glasses and shook his head. "Not natural, sir. Definitely artificial, and definitely not one of ours." Russell ran a hand through his short brown hair. After decades of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, humanity had begun to wonder if they were alone. Now, on what should have been an ordinary patrol, they might have found their answer. "Take us closer, but maintain alert status," Russell ordered. "And someone wake up Dr. Allen. She'll want to see this." The Defiance moved silently through the darkness of space. As they approached the source of the readings, a massive shape appeared against the blackness. It was a ship, but like none they had ever seen. Its surface seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, and parts of it were clearly damaged. "Sir, we're being scanned," called out the tactical officer. Russell tensed. First contact scenarios had been drilled into every space captain's training, but nobody truly knew how humanity would react when the moment came. "Hold position. No aggressive moves," he said calmly. The alien vessel suddenly emitted a burst of energy that washed over the Defiance *. Before anyone could react, a voice spoke through their communication system. The words were strangely accented but clearly English. "Your assistance is requested. Damage critical. Life support failing." Russell hesitated only briefly. Against protocol but following his gut, he made a decision that would change human history forever. "Prepare medical and engineering teams. We're going to help them." Hours later, Russell stood face to face with the first confirmed extraterrestrial intelligence humanity had ever encountered. The being called itself Zefix, ambassador of the Volderi. It, or rather he, as Russell learned, had a humanoid shape but with silvery skin and eyes that seemed to contain swirling galaxies. "Your intervention was most fortunate, Captain Russell," Zefix said. "Our kind rarely ventures to uninhabited regions such as this." "Uninhabited?" Russell raised an eyebrow. "Earth is home to billions." Zefix tilted his head in what seemed like surprise. "Curious. Your world must somehow have remained hidden from galactic charts." His expression darkened. "Perhaps that was fortunate for your species." As Russell helped coordinate repairs to the Volderi ship, Zefix explained that they were refugees, fleeing from a powerful entity known as the Sovereign. This being, worshipped as a god by many species across the galaxy, ruled over the Council of Allied Worlds with absolute authority. "The Sovereign demands worship and obedience," Zefix explained. "Those who refuse face consequences. My people chose freedom. Now we search for allies among primitive, forgive me, developing species overlooked by the galactic community." Russell felt a chill as he realized what this meant. Humanity wasn't alone in the universe, but the neighborhood wasn't friendly. "This council," Russell asked, "how many species are part of it?" "Hundreds," replied Zefix, "all living under the protection and subjugation of the Celestials. The Sovereign is merely the most feared among them. And if Earth were discovered—" Zefix's swirling eyes seemed to dim. "The Sovereign would evaluate your worth and decide your fate. Few species maintain true independence." As repairs on the Volderi ship neared completion, Russell made another decision. He invited Zefix to send representatives to Earth. "We should prepare," he told his worried officers later. "Whether we like it or not, we're about to join a much larger community. And it sounds like we need friends." As the Defiance escorted the Volderi ship toward Earth, Russell gazed at the distant blue dot that was home. Humanity had always looked to the stars with hope and wonder. Now he wondered if they should have been looking with caution instead. 6 months had passed since the Volderi ship arrived on Earth. The world had changed overnight. Humans learned they were not alone in the universe, and more importantly, that they were in danger. Dr. Natalie Winters sat in her office at the newly built Interstellar Relations Center in Geneva. As Earth's leading xenolinguist, she had quickly become the voice of humanity to alien visitors. Her desk was covered with translation devices and strange symbols she was still learning. Her computer beeped. A message appeared on the screen. "Ambassador Winters, please report to the main conference room immediately." Natalie hurried down the long hallway. Inside the conference room, she found Captain Eric Russell speaking with several government officials. His face was serious. "Dr. Winters," Russell nodded, "we've received an invitation from the Council of Allied Worlds. They want Earth to send a representative. You." Natalie's heart raced. "Why now?" "The Volderi said they'd help keep us hidden." An older man with gray hair stood up. "The Council knows about us now. One of their scout ships detected Earth last week." 2 weeks later, Natalie and Russell boarded a Volderi ship modified for human passengers. They were headed to the massive space station where the Council held its meetings. The journey took 5 days using technology humans barely understood. When they arrived, Natalie gasped at the sight of the station. It was the size of a small moon, with ships of all shapes and sizes coming and going. Inside, hundreds of different alien species moved through vast halls. Their Volderi guide, Zefix, led them to their quarters. "The council meeting is tomorrow. You should rest." "Why did they really invite us?" Natalie asked. Zefix's silvery face looked troubled. "The Sovereign has detected your world and considers it a potential threat. Several council species are calling for Earth's containment." "Containment?" Russell asked. "Planetary quarantine," Zefix said quietly. "Or worse." The next day, Natalie and Russell entered the Great Council chamber. Thousands of beings filled the circular room, with platforms at different heights for different species. The air smelled strange, and sounds echoed from all directions. Natalie took her place at the speaking platform. She had prepared for this moment, but her mouth went dry as the council leader, a tall blue-skinned being, called the meeting to order. "The council recognizes Earth's representative, Dr. Natalie Winters," the leader announced. Natalie stepped forward. "Honored members of the council, I bring greetings from Earth. We come in peace and seek friendship with all worlds." A murmur spread through the chamber. Then a voice cut through the noise. "Peace. Your species knows nothing of peace." A being made of pure energy floated down to hover before Natalie. This was Harold, the voice of the Sovereign. "My master has studied your history," Harold continued. "War, destruction, division. You are dangerous and unpredictable." Natalie stood her ground. "We have made mistakes, yes. But we have also created art, music, literature. We have shown compassion and courage." "Words," Harold dismissed. "The Sovereign requires proof. Your world has been scheduled for evaluation." The chamber erupted in noise. Natalie looked to the council leader. "What does that mean?" The leader looked uncomfortable. "The Sovereign will visit Earth personally to determine if humans deserve to exist as a free species, and if we fail this evaluation." Russell asked from his seat. Harold turned to him, its energy form pulsing brighter. "Then Earth will serve the Sovereign, as all worlds must, or it will cease to exist." Natalie felt cold fear grip her heart. "We have the right to determine our own future. We won't submit to tests by some being who calls itself a god." Harold laughed, a sound like crackling electricity. "You have no choice. The evaluation begins in 3 weeks. Prepare your people, Ambassador. The Sovereign's judgment is rarely merciful." As they left the chamber, Russell gripped Natalie's arm. "We need to warn Earth. We need to prepare." Natalie nodded, her mind racing. 3 weeks to prepare for a god. How do you even begin? They didn't know it yet, but back on Earth, scientists and military leaders were already working on an answer to that question. An answer that would change the galaxy forever. The Sovereign arrived exactly 3 weeks later. It appeared in Earth's orbit as a massive ball of light, so bright it was visible even in daylight. People around the world stopped and stared at the sky. Some prayed, others hid, most just watched in silent fear. John Harmon was drinking coffee on his porch in Chicago when it happened. The retired Marine put down his mug slowly as the light grew brighter. At 52, Harmon had seen war up close. He thought those days were behind him. Now he wasn't so sure. His phone rang. It was his daughter. "Dad, are you seeing this?" she asked, voice shaking. "I see it, Kelly. Stay inside. I'll call you soon." As Harmon hung up, a voice filled his head. It filled everyone's head around the world, speaking in their own language. "People of Earth, I am the Sovereign. Your world has been noticed by the greater galaxy. Now you must be tested to determine your place in the cosmic order. The evaluation begins now." Harmon felt a chill run through him. He wasn't the only one. In homes and offices across the world, people heard the same message. The tests began that very day. In major cities, strange energy fields appeared, creating impossible situations that forced difficult choices. In Rio, a hospital was cut off from the outside world, with oxygen slowly running out. In Tokyo, 2 trains were frozen in time, on a collision course. In each case, people had to work together to find solutions. In Chicago, Harmon watched as a glowing dome covered his entire neighborhood. The air inside began to thin. People panicked, but Harmon's military training kicked in. He organized his neighbors, helped them stay calm, and worked to find a way out. They discovered that the dome allowed small objects through if they moved slowly enough. Using this knowledge, they created a system to bring in air from outside. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it bought them time. Meanwhile, in a secret underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Captain Russell and a team of scientists worked desperately to understand the Sovereign. Among them was Olivia Grant, the world's leading weapons specialist. "What have we learned?" Russell asked, looking at screens filled with data. Grant pointed to energy readings taken during the Volderi rescue months ago. "We've been analyzing the energy patterns of celestial beings. There's something here, a pattern in how their energy matrices function." "Can we use it?" Russell asked. "Maybe," Grant said. "Every energy form has a frequency. Find the right counter-frequency. And we might have a weapon," Russell finished. Grant nodded. "But we'd need technology we don't have." Russell thought of their Volderi allies. "I might know where to get it." As days passed, the Sovereign's tests grew more challenging. Some were physical, like the domes. Others were moral dilemmas that tested human compassion and values. The world's leaders tried to coordinate responses, but communications were often blocked by the Sovereign. In Chicago, Harmon's neighborhood had been under the dome for 3 days. Despite their best efforts, air was running out. Children and the elderly were suffering the most. Harmon gathered a group of volunteers. "We need to try something new," he told them. "The dome seems weaker near the ground. If we all push at the same spot, we might break through." It was dangerous. The energy field could kill them. But they had no choice. 20 people lined up along the edge of the dome. Harmon counted down. 3, 2, 1. Push. They pressed against the invisible barrier. Pain shot through their bodies. The dome sparked and flashed. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like breaking glass, a small hole appeared. Air rushed in. As people cheered, Harmon looked up at the bright light in the sky. He didn't know if they had passed this test or not. But he knew one thing for sure: humans wouldn't give up without a fight. Above Earth, the Sovereign watched. This was not going as expected. These humans were interesting. Perhaps too interesting to be allowed freedom. 2 weeks into the Sovereign's tests, Earth had changed. Nations that once fought each other now worked together. Old enemies shared resources and information. It wasn't perfect, but it was something no one had seen before. A united Earth. John Harmon had become something of a hero after breaking through the dome in Chicago. News of his success spread, and other trapped communities tried similar methods. Some worked, some didn't, but people kept trying. Harmon now led a network of civilian volunteers who shared information about the tests and helped communities prepare. He traveled from city to city, teaching people what he had learned. The domes have weak points, he told a group in Detroit. Look for places where the color changes slightly. And remember, it's not about strength, it's about persistence. A young woman raised her hand. But what happens when the tests are over? What if we fail? Harmon had no good answer. No one did. In the underground facility, now called Bunker 1, Captain Russell received an encrypted message from their Volderi allies. They had agreed to provide the advanced technology needed for the weapon Grant was designing. We call it the harmonic resonance cannon, Grant explained to Russell, and a room full of military leaders. She pointed to complex diagrams on a screen. Based on our analysis, celestial beings like the Sovereign exist as energy matrices operating on specific frequencies. This weapon will disrupt those frequencies. Will it kill this thing? Asked General Peterson. Grant hesitated. We don't know. Nothing like this has been tried before, but it should weaken it at least. The Volderi say other species have tried to fight Celestials before, Russell added. None succeeded. Those species weren't human, said Peterson. As they spoke, the Sovereign escalated its tests. In the Pacific, an entire island nation was surrounded by a storm that grew stronger by the hour. Evacuation was impossible. Millions of lives were at risk. When Harmon heard about this, he gathered a team of volunteers with boats and planes. What he planned was dangerous, possibly suicidal, but he couldn't stand by and watch people die. Using knowledge gained from previous tests, Harmon's team found a pattern in the storm. There were moments, lasting only seconds, when the energy weakened. If timed perfectly, a rescue craft might get through. We'll need perfect timing, he told his team. And even then, we can only bring out a few people each trip. Better than none, said a pilot named Lisa. The rescue operation began at dawn. Lisa flew the first plane, timing her approach to match the brief weakness in the storm. Lightning struck all around her, but she kept steady. She made it through, landed, loaded as many people as possible, and waited for the next opening. Over the next 3 days, Harmon's team made over 50 trips into the storm. They saved thousands of lives. During one trip, Harmon's boat was nearly destroyed. He continued despite severe injuries. The Sovereign watched this display of courage with growing concern. These humans were supposed to compete for survival, to turn on each other as other species had done during evaluation. Instead, they sacrificed for strangers. They persisted against impossible odds. They showed qualities the Sovereign had not seen in millennia of testing worlds. In Bunker 1, the harmonic resonance cannon was nearly complete. The Volderi had delivered the final components in secret, risking the Sovereign's wrath. How soon until it's operational? Russell asked Grant. 3 days, maybe 4, she replied. But we have no way to test it. The first time we fire this thing will be the real deal. Russell nodded. Let's hope it works. Dr. Winters just sent word from the council. The evaluation is scheduled to end in 1 week. After that, the Sovereign makes its judgment. And if the judgment goes against us? Grant asked. Russell's face was grim. Then we use the cannon anyway, because I don't think any of us want to live in a world ruled by that thing. Outside, the Sovereign's light grew brighter in the sky, watching, evaluating, judging. The final test was about to begin. The harmonic resonance cannon sat in the center of Bunker 1's main lab. It didn't look like much, a series of rings surrounding a glowing core mounted on a platform. But it represented humanity's best hope. It's done, Olivia Grant said, wiping sweat from her forehead. She had barely slept in days. As done as it's going to be anyway. Captain Russell studied the weapon. Will it work? In theory, Grant replied. But we can't test it without alerting the Sovereign. The door to the lab opened, and Dr. Natalie Winters walked in with John Harmon. Winters had returned from the council 2 days ago. Harmon had been brought to Bunker 1 because of his success leading civilian resistance efforts. The council is watching Earth closely, Winters said. Most species are betting against us. A few are secretly hoping we succeed. Succeed at what? Harmon asked, looking at the strange device. Russell explained the cannon and their plan to use it against the Sovereign. Harmon whistled low. You're planning to shoot a god. Not a god, Grant corrected. An extremely powerful alien being that other species worship as a god. There's a difference. The problem, Russell said, is getting close enough to use it. The Sovereign stays in high orbit. Winters stepped forward. That's why I'm here. I've arranged a final audience with the Sovereign. One last chance to plead Earth's case before judgment. It'll never come close enough, Grant argued. It might, Winters replied. The Sovereign enjoys displaying its power, if I can appeal to its ego. Harmon studied the cannon. If you get this meeting, how do you fire that thing without the Sovereign seeing it coming? Russell looked grim. That's the problem we haven't solved yet. As they discussed options, a message arrived from their Voldari allies. The Council had learned of Earth's weapon. Many species were outraged. Killing a celestial was forbidden under galactic law. Any species that attempted it faced extinction. So we're damned if we do, damned if we don't, Harmon said after hearing the news. Not necessarily, Winters replied. The Council fears the Sovereign, but many species resent its control. If we succeed, we'd still need to get close enough to use the cannon, Russell reminded them. Harmon was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. What if we had a smaller version? Something that could be hidden. Grant shook her head. The power requirements are too great. But not impossible, Harmon pressed. You said it yourself. It's about disrupting frequencies, not raw power. Grant thought for a moment. I might be able to build a miniature version. It wouldn't be as effective, but at close range. That's our plan then, Russell decided. Winters requests a meeting. The Defiance will carry the main cannon, cloaked with Voldari technology, and Harmon will accompany Winters with a personal device as backup. Me? Harmon looked surprised. The Sovereign has taken notice of your rescue efforts, Winters explained. It's curious about you. That might help get us the meeting. Over the next 3 days, Grant worked to create a handheld version of the cannon. It was risky. The smaller device might not have enough power to seriously harm the Sovereign. But they had no better options. The night before the meeting, Harmon couldn't sleep. He sat in his quarters in Bunker 1, looking at pictures of his daughter on his phone. He had sent Kelly to stay with relatives in a remote area, hoping she'd be safer there. There was a knock at his door. It was Russell. Nervous? The captain asked. Terrified, Harmon admitted. I'm just a retired Marine. I never signed up to fight a god. Russell sat down across from him. None of us did. But here we are. Do you think we can win? Russell was quiet for a moment. I think we have to try, because the alternative is living on our knees. And that's not what humans do. Harmon nodded slowly. Above them, through miles of rock and steel, the Sovereign's light still shone in the night sky. Tomorrow, they would either save their world or doom it. Either way, humanity would go down fighting. The meeting with the Sovereign was set to take place in Earth's orbit. A special structure had been created, a transparent bubble floating in space where humans could breathe. It was the Sovereign's way of showing its power. Natalie Winters and John Harmon boarded a small shuttle. Harmon wore what looked like an ordinary watch on his wrist. It was actually Grant's miniature version of the harmonic resonance cannon. The device was untested and might not work, but it was their backup plan. Remember, Winters told Harmon as they approached the meeting place, your job is to stay quiet and observe. I'll do the talking. Harmon nodded. The small device on his wrist felt heavy. He knew that if things went wrong, it would be up to him to act. Meanwhile, The Earth defense vessel Defiance moved silently into position, hidden by Volderi cloaking technology. Captain Russell stood on the bridge, watching as the main cannon was prepared. "Power at 80%, reported Grant over the comm. "That's as high as we can go without risking detection." "It'll have to be enough," Russell replied. "Hold position and wait for my signal." Inside the meeting bubble, Winters and Harmon waited. Then a bright light filled the space, so intense they had to shield their eyes. When they could see again, the Sovereign was there. It had taken a form they could comprehend, a tall being made of swirling golden energy, vaguely humanoid but constantly shifting. Its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Dr. Natalie Winters, John Harmon, you requested this audience before my judgment is rendered. Speak." Winters stepped forward. "Sovereign, I come to make a final plea for Earth. We have shown courage, compassion, and resilience during your tests. We ask for the right to exist freely, as equals in the galactic community." The Sovereign's form pulsed brighter. "Equals? You are not equals. You are primitive, violent, unpredictable. For thousands of years, I have guided worthy species, protected them, ruled them. This is the natural order." "Natural to you," Winters argued, "but not to us. Humans don't accept rule without consent." "Your consent is irrelevant," the Sovereign said coldly. "Let me show you my power, so you understand what you face." The Sovereign raised a hand. Outside the bubble, a small uninhabited moon exploded into dust. The force was so great that the meeting bubble shook. "This is but a fraction of what I can do," the Sovereign continued. "Your evaluation is complete. Humans will serve me, or they will perish. There is no third option." Harmon watched as Winters continued to argue, buying time. Through the transparent walls of the bubble, he could see Earth in the distance, blue, beautiful, and home to billions of people who had no idea their fate was being decided in this moment. On the Defiance Russell received a signal from Winters. 3 quick taps on a hidden communicator. It was time. "Fire the cannon," he ordered. The ship's cloaking fell away as it diverted power to the weapon. The harmonic resonance cannon glowed bright blue, then fired a beam of energy directly at the Sovereign. Inside the meeting bubble, the Sovereign suddenly screamed, a sound like tearing metal. Its form flickered and destabilized as the energy beam struck it. "What is this?" it roared. "What have you done?" With a wave of its hand, the Sovereign lashed out. The Defiance was hit by a blast of energy that tore through its shields. The ship began to break apart. The meeting bubble was also damaged. Air started to leak out. Warning alarms blared. "Get to the escape pod," Harmon shouted to Winters. He pushed her toward the small pod attached to the bubble. "What about you?" she yelled back. "I'll be right behind you." But Harmon knew it was a lie. Someone had to finish this. As Winters scrambled into the pod, Harmon turned to face the Sovereign. The beam was wounded but still incredibly powerful. It turned its attention to Harmon, golden energy crackling around it. "You," the Sovereign hissed, "the human who defied me at every turn. You will be the first to die." Harmon looked at the device on his wrist, then at the angry god before him. He smiled grimly. "Not today," he said, and activated the miniature cannon. John Harmon woke up in pain. Bright lights hurt his eyes. For a moment, he thought he was dead. Then he felt the ache in his body and knew he was very much alive. He was in a bed. The room looked strange. The walls glowed softly, and the air smelled like flowers. This wasn't Earth. "The human is awake," said a voice. Harmon turned his head. A blue-skinned being stood nearby. The council leader. "Where am I?" Harmon asked, his voice rough. "A medical facility on the council station," the leader replied. "You have been unconscious for 3 days." Memory flooded back. The meeting with the Sovereign. The cannon. The explosion. What happened? The Sovereign. Wounded but not destroyed. The leader said, "Your weapon weakened it enough that it was forced to retreat. No one has ever accomplished such a thing before." Harmon tried to sit up. Pain shot through his body, but he managed. Is Earth safe?" "For now," said the leader. "But you have created a problem for the Council. Your actions have sparked rebellion among other species. Many worlds now question the rule of the Celestials." A door opened, and Natalie Winters walked in. She looked tired, but smiled when she saw Harmon awake. "You're alive," she said. "We weren't sure you'd make it." "Captain Russell, the Defiance asterisk," Harmon asked. "Russell is alive. The ship was badly damaged, but some of the crew survived. They're heroes back on Earth." The leader cleared his throat. "The Council has called an emergency session. Your presence is required, John Harmon." An hour later, Harmon stood before the full Council of Allied Worlds. He wore simple clothes provided by the station, and still moved slowly from his injuries. Winters stood beside him. The chamber was filled with representatives of hundreds of species. Many shouted angrily. Others watched in silence. "Order," called the leader. "We gather to decide the fate of Earth and humanity." A tall, thin alien stood. "They attacked a Celestial. The law is clear. Extinction is the only punishment." Others joined in, calling for Earth's destruction. But some voices spoke in defense of humans. A reptilian being rose. "The humans did what many of us have only dreamed of. They fought for their freedom." The debate raged for hours. Finally, the leader raised his hands for silence. "John Harmon," he said formally, "the Council asks, what gave humanity the right to kill a god?" The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to Harmon. Harmon didn't speak at first. Instead, he pressed a button on a small device Winters had given him. A hologram appeared, showing Earth, beautiful, blue, and alone in the darkness of space. Then the image changed to show people during the Sovereign's tests, a mother shielding her child from falling debris, strangers helping each other escape from danger, Harmon's own team risking their lives to save people trapped by the storm. The images continued, humans refusing to surrender, working together, showing kindness even in the face of death. Finally, Harmon spoke. His voice was quiet but carried through the silent chamber. "You ask what gives us the right," he said. "This does. Our home, our people, our refusal to be enslaved, even by a god." He pointed at the images of Earth. "Every living being has the right to defend itself against those who would destroy it. Earth isn't just a planet. It's proof of our right to exist as free people." Silence filled the chamber. Then, one by one, representatives began to stand. First, the Volderi, then others, species that had lived under the Celestials' rule for thousands of years, now inspired by humanity's courage. The leader looked around at the standing representatives, then back at Harmon. "It seems," he said slowly, "that humans have changed the galaxy in ways no one expected." Later, as Harmon and Winters prepared to return to Earth, a message arrived. Other Celestials were coming, drawn by the Sovereign's defeat. "Will they attack Earth?" Harmon asked. Winters looked at the stars visible through the station window. "Probably. But this time, we won't face them alone." Harmon nodded. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe. It would not be easy. But humans had earned their place among the stars, not by bowing to gods, but by standing tall in the face of impossible odds. And that was something worth fighting for.